Hi, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing great. Today, I have a very special guest with me on my channel. Her name is Jagdeep Sekhon, and she has done her law degree from University of California. She started her own podcast in 2020 and has recently relaunched it. There's a lot of valuable content on it, especially for people who are in law school, the fresh grads, or young lawyers, and it covers so many diverse range of topics like work-life balance or how to, polish your soft skills, how to land a good job. So yeah, today I'm going to be talking to Jagdeep about all your soft skills that are not taught in law school that are hopefully going to be helpful for internationally trained lawyers who are moving to US or Canada. So without further delay, let's give a warm welcome to Jagdeep.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on someone else's podcast. It's going to be interesting getting asked the questions versus asking the questions.
No, but thank you so much for taking the time out. I know we've been going back and forth with your work as a lawyer and then me as the baby trainee lawyer right now. It's been pretty difficult to find time, but I'm so glad that we could do this.
Of course, I'm glad to be here.
So let's just jump right into it because I think it's going to be a pretty long conversation.
Okay.
So for anyone who's watching today, how would you give a quick recap of your background?
Yeah, of course. So, like Sequini mentioned, I am born and raised in California. I went to school out here for undergrad, also for law school. I went to University of Hastings, which is now University of California School of Law. They like updated their whole name. So it's a different, same law school, different name. And I currently practice at a tech startup. So we do a lot of cloud-based GPU processing, all your data needs. I'm their sole in-house counsel, so I'm their commercial and corporate is the title I hold. I also do a lot of board stuff. I'm their board secretary. So it's been amazing. I love my job. I love tech law. I love the business aspects, but also understanding the product side of things too, right? Helping it grow, understanding how the tech works, the foundation of everything. It's super enjoyable. It's very dynamic. It's ever changing. If anyone practices or is interested in tech law, you'll know that the law is always it's like really behind where the tech is, and so it's interesting to be practicing in that area because not that you make things up, but you really have to piecemeal things and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So I'm super excited to be here, and like Sukhmani mentioned, I also have my own podcast. It's called Legal Chutney, which I started in law school because I felt like I didn't have anyone telling me what law school was going to be like, right? Like I did internships at the public defender's office. I had a few colleagues that I networked with, prior to law school. But the one thing I would always hear was, oh, law school is really hard, don't go.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was in fourth grade. Right? Like that was my dream. It was what I wanted to do. So it wasn't helpful for me to hear, oh, it's just hard, don't do it. Oh, it's not worth it, don't go. Right. Like I've already made up my mind. This is the career path I've chosen. So I felt like there needed to be a podcast out there, something that would help students understand what law school is like, what post law school is like, right? Even more importantly, like what is it like being an attorney? And if you even enjoy that, like listening to people's day to day, if you don't, then yeah, maybe law school isn't for you. You should do something else. Or maybe it actually inspires you to realize, no, I do like being, hearing these stories of the day to day. I do like what these people are doing, right? So that was the first part. And then the second part is there's so many areas of the law, so many niche practice groups that you don't really hear of until you get to law school, or even when you start networking. You like, I didn't know there was a startup sort of lawyer. Like I didn't know what that meant. And so I only realized that when I started networking with other attorneys and lawyers and started doing job interviews and like applying for jobs, that I realized there's this niche area of the law that's really exciting that I actually enjoy more than legal research and writing, more than like litigating, right? Because that's kind of what you think lawyers do is they go to the court all the time, they write briefs. There's so much more. And so that's why I started the podcast. Then I took a little bit of a break because, like, the bar exam, law school, it was a 3 hour job hunting. And I relaunched it recently this year with like new episodes and just like fresh topics, like you mentioned, work-life balance, how to get a good job, soft skills. Also, like, what do attorneys do? What does their day-to-day look like? What kinds of attorneys are out there? So if anyone's interested, feel free to check it out. And, I'm super excited that I get to sort of help people figure out like what law school is and what being an attorney is like.
What is law school like in the US?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I always say this. I'm very honest about being an attorney, being a law student. I love it so, so, so much. But I will say law school is very toxic. Like it just, I'm gonna be honest about it,
Yeah.
especially maybe in Canada, maybe in India, it's different, right? But in the US, one, there's just a lot of competition, right? Like most law schools are graded on a curve. So what that means is there's only a select number of people that are gonna get A's and a
Yeah.
select number of people that are gonna get B's and C's and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So competitive in that sense, right? Because everyone wants to get the good grade, everyone wants to get an A.
Yeah.
So one, that being. Number two, it's also competitive in the job market, right? Because everyone wants to go to big law firms or, whatever it may be. There's only limited spots
Hmm.
because everybody in the US is competing for those jobs, right? California, where I am, it tends to be a more dominant like market that people want to get into because they want to do tech or it's just like it's California has a lot of money. There has a lot of practice groups out here, a lot of firms. So New York, California, all these places are really desired, so, which makes the competition even more in those places, right?
Yeah.
If you're not at the best like law school, you're not in the T20 as people say or the T14, it can be hard to get into a good job. So you want to do well in law school. And for those reasons, I personally think a lot of students get really competitive. They're really pitting each other against one another, which not to blame them, right? Because that's just the environment that they're
Yeah.
in.
Hmm.
But because of that, it becomes really toxic. You don't know who sometimes your friends are, who you can really rely on. And someone told me one time, they said law school is like high school. And it is so true. It's so true. There's so much drama. There is so much gossip. I feel like it's because you're all in a small group.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to see everyone all the time, right? Usually in big universities and big undergrad classes, there's like 300 kids, right? You don't get to see everyone all the time. There's different people in one class to the next. Very different in law school. Usually you're either in a small law school where everybody should has the same classes, sort of, your first year, or you're in a small group, right? Like maybe 50 or 60 kids, and then you're all in the same classes. So all of that, I think, really breeds a lot of toxicity, a lot of gossip, just a lot of mental anguish that you don't think would be in law school because you would think it's like professional setting and just everybody is trying to do the best. We're trying to learn, we're trying to grow. That is the case sometimes, but it's very toxic. And I like to tell people that not to scare them away, but to prepare them that if you think, the mental health aspect of law school is not as important, it's always just grades and do well, do well. But how do you do well? You have to take care of your mental health. And I want people to know that going into it, it's not just academically challenging, but also emotionally, like mentally really challenging.
What are some academic or non-academic activities that every law student should ideally participate in?
Oh yeah, okay. So academically, I think you have to take your core classes your first year, especially in the States. So
Mm-hmm.
there's two programs people can do because I have some few friends who are international students. They either did an LLM program, right?
Yes.
Because they had law degrees, and then I think the LLM program is maybe 2 years, and so it's not 3 years. There's also different classes you get to take. But there is the core classes everybody has to take your first year of law school, which is like con law, crim, torts, I'm like forgetting a bunch. Oh, contracts, right? Those are all the core classes everyone has to take. So don't worry too much about picking your classes your first year. It's already kind of decided for you. And even throughout law school, I will say pick the classes that are interesting to you. Like something that you are interested in learning about, whether it be because you don't know that area of the law, whether it be because you want to practice that area of the law, so you want to take as many classes before you graduate, because for the bar exam, you're gonna have to restudy and relearn every single.
Everything. Hmm.
So it's like, yes, take the bar classes. You're gonna have to anyways because there are gonna be requirements. Like a lot of schools tell you you have to take con law 2, you have to take ethics, you have to take an evidence class. Like there's already required classes, right? And those are usually the bar classes
Hmm.
anyways. So you're gonna don't worry about like, oh my gosh, like I have to decide if I'm gonna pass, what classes to really take. A lot of it's decided for you. You get to pick, I think, every semester, maybe like 2 classes, three at most that you want to do. But there's always going to be 1 to 2 classes a semester that are kind of decided for you because you need them to graduate. So
Yeah.
academically, that's there. This also is, I guess, academic, but could be non-academic. Take as many clinics. So if you are especially are in, because you focus on international students and international lawyers, take as many clinics as you can. I
Oh,
unfortunately,
I'm gonna stop you here. What is a clinic?
oh yeah, a clinic. Okay, so clinic is a way for you to get practice being a lawyer. Okay. And what I mean by that, it's not that, you get to do whatever you want. You usually get supervised by an attorney on a case or a client or something of a sort or a project, and you get to see that project through, right? So, for example, I was in the startup legal garage at my law school,
Okay.
which is basically a class, but also a clinic. So we get assigned a client for one semester who we have to help them with their legal sort of stuff. And we have a supervising attorney who obviously oversees everything because we're not allowed to practice law as students, right? So, it will be like drafting, let's say, a privacy agreement, looking over their contracts, reviewing things. And then the supervising attorney reviews our work. And then, we talk to the client. And then in the class, because this is two, it's not always like that. A lot of clinics don't have a class, but ours was like a full year long program. In the class, you learn things about startup law and you get to speak to other professors, other attorneys. They teach you what it's like practicing, right? So that is super helpful. And I recommend doing as many of those as you can and fit into your schedule. That makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to do tech law. I wanted to be a transactional attorney, not a litigator. So I wasn't going to take like a family law clinic, right? Just that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
So taking clinics that align with your goals of what you want to practice is super helpful. Unfortunately, I was in law school when there was COVID. So a lot of these clinics were just not available. I wish I was able to do more of them because of, just you learn more practical skills, you figure out if you like that area of the law or you don't. Because a classroom, you're not going to learn that. Classroom is very theory based, not practice at all, right? So that, and then number three, I wish I did this. I did it one summer, is doing competitions. So what I mean by that is there's like trial competitions where your law schools will have their own trial teams, and these people literally take a part of a case. So there'll be plaintiff or defendant,
Mm.
and they will act like the attorneys, and then they'll one day go in and they'll do a whole scene of a case in a courtroom. So the
Oh.
defense will present
Mm.
his information, the plaintiff side will present the information. There's a judge, there's a jury, there's like witnesses, right? So it's really good experience if you want to be a litigator because you get the experience of writing a brief, then actually doing the questioning of the witnesses, closing, opening arguments. And
Yeah.
even if you're trying to be a litigator and you're trying to do transactional law, which is corporate business stuff, you
Yeah.
still, there's lots of competitions. There's lots of like negotiation competitions. There's lots of contract writing competitions. I wish I did more of that just because I wish I wanted more practice before becoming an actual attorney. But again, COVID, just, there weren't that many options during that time. And then as a 3L, I was kind of like, oh, I'm almost done with law school. I don't want to put in more effort than I
Yeah.
have to. But yeah, so I think those things are super important. Doing as many practical skill setting activities, whether that's clinics, competitions, is more helpful, I think at least, than just doing things in the classroom. Classroom is very theory. It's practice of law is very different than the theory of law. So as much as you can get practice is
Yeah.
better. I know people who made law school their entire life, right?
Nice.
And again, that wasn't me. I'm sorry. Like I couldn't make it my life. One, I hated law school. Okay. I did not like it because of the things I think I'm telling you, right? It was
Yeah.
toxic. It just
Yeah.
wasn't fun. I had a really great undergraduate experience. I loved undergrad.
Mm.
It felt like it was more freeing, there was more learning, there was less drama. It just felt like a true academic setting. So when I got to law school, it just felt really toxic. I didn't like it. I think the emphasis on competition I don't enjoy, not because I can't compete, because I feel like there has to be more to life and
Yeah.
more, especially when you're older and in a graduate program. Like, why am I fighting with like, a 22, 23? Like, this is so
Yeah.
not fun. I think when you start law school as a first year, it's okay if you don't have hobbies because it is challenging. You're trying to figure out how to do law school, right? Like how long is it going to take me to do a reading? How long is it going to take me to join a club? Because you also want to join clubs, you want to meet people, right? You want to
Yeah.
socialize, you want to network. So it's okay if your first year law school, you're just like not doing anything but law school. Maybe you're hanging out with your friends or seeing your family, but and if your hobbies take a little bit of a backseat. that's okay because you're learning, you're growing, it's a different environment. But as you progress in law school, as you figure out the balance and you figure out, okay, I don't have to read for this class today, or I can do Quinn Bee today, or I can, you know, this professor's not going to call on me today, so I can take a
Hmm.
break. Get
Yeah.
into hobbies, right? Enjoy some other things in your life. And when you start working too, don't make work your whole personality. Like, yes, I am a workaholic. I do enjoy it, but I have my podcast for that reason because it's something I'm really passionate about, something I really enjoy doing. I love putting out goofy content like on TikTok. I'm a big cafe person. Like, I enjoy going to different cafes. So every other weekend or at least once a month, I try to go to a different cafe, sit there, read a book, work on my podcast, work on work if I have to, but at least there's certain things that give me joy and I try to do them as much as possible. I like now since I'm working, I have more time to spend with my family. So I try to see my cousins, my nieces, my parents, my brother, right? Like try to spend more time with them because at the end of the day, like work is amazing. I love it. And I'm gonna keep saying that because I truly do like my job, but there has to be other things in life that bring you joy, right? And it's really easy to get caught up in the competition, get caught up in the job search, get caught up in being the best. Because I also think as South Asian people and Indians, we're always trying to be number one, which you still can be, but you can also like take a break. It's okay. You don't have to like work every single day. Like on a Saturday after this, I'm gonna work, but I'm also gonna go get my nails done, right? Like I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna grab a coffee and then I'll come back and do work. That's okay. I can take an hour and a half, 2 hours to myself. So
Yeah.
yes, you do have to have hobbies. Also, because when you practice, it helps you connect with your client. The one thing being in a service industry, no matter if you're a litigator or a transactional attorney, we're in a service industry, right? You have to interact with clients. So if you have nothing going on but work, what are you going to talk about? How are you going to connect with them? How are you going to have like this point of just like another thing to talk about? Because your clients, what I've noticed, don't always want their lawyer to just give them like straight lawyer talk. You want to have small talk. You want to get to know them. Some of these clients may be clients you have from like for 20 years. You get to
Yeah.
know their you get to know them in their person. So you also want to have something going on besides work, right? To talk about and to de-stress about. So it's definitely important to have other things besides work in law school.
How did you land your first job?
Yeah, okay. So again, it was, COVID, so OCIs are on-campus interviews, but this time it was via Zoom just because it was COVID. And
Mm-hmm.
OCIs, I'll get into it tiny bit. I'm not sure. And you tell me if it's the same thing in Canada. I had someone reach out to me yesterday who was a Canadian law student, said they were doing OCIs, so I'm assuming it's similar. But basically what ends up happening is you finish your first year of law school, or at this moment, in fact, I think the date is like April of your first year as you finish, right? So you're finishing up your first year of law school, you're sending your grades and your resumes to all these big firms out there. Then they pick and choose who they want to interview. And then you do an interview for 15 minutes with them. They like you, they call you back. And that's called a callback interview. During the callback interview, you have interviews with about 5 to 6 people, each about 30 minutes long. And then at the end of it, you find out if you get a job or not.
Okay.
So that happens usually the summer before your second year. All the interviews, all the prep happens before. So you kind of know your job placement for the 2L summer
Mm-hmm.
before you start your second year of law school. And that's just how it works, unfortunately. Like, that's the system that they choose to go by. For me, because it was COVID and they didn't do it during the summer because they didn't know what to do, my interviews happened in the second year of law school, the last semester. So the second semester in January and December, or sorry, January, February is when the interviews were happening. And I did my interview. And then, I really, again, told them why I wanted to do startup law, why I really enjoyed it, did the 15 minutes, got a callback interview, and then did another big round, and then that's how I landed my job. I still remember like getting that phone call. It was like the best phone call ever because it was the firm I wanted to go to.
Wow.
So it was like my dream job, everything was great. And then I did my summer there as a 2L. So for 2 months I worked as a summer associate. They liked me as a summer associate, and then they called me back when I graduate to work there full time. So that's how I landed my job. And a lot of people land their jobs that way, but it's not the only way to land a job. You just,
Mm-hmm.
you interview anywhere that you feel like you want to be at. You send your resumes, you do the whole process, and then, you summer at any law firm or in-house position, and then you usually land something in that process.
For me personally, one of the biggest challenges after moving to Canada is networking. I have trouble talking to people I don't know, and I don't know how to start. And when I know that it's essentially I have this aim, and the aim is to try and find a job in the future whenever, I feel like I have a very selfish motive. I'm not talking to this person because I genuinely want to know them, but more because I have a motive and I want to,
Mm.
work towards that.
Yeah.
So how does one start talking to somebody?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, everybody wants to get a job when they're networking. So don't feel bad about that because that's in the back of everyone's mind. Okay. Everyone's back of their mind is usually like, what can this person teach me? What can this person give me? And that's okay to an extent. So you don't want to go into the interview or like let's say you're networking and be like, give me a job. That's not how our industry works, as you know, right? Like that's right. I mean, kind of rude. It's very just like a little too much of a transactional relationship. So, two things. One thing you mentioned is you have a hard time sort of like talking to people. That's okay. I think a lot of lawyers do. I am talkative just generally by nature. But also you have a podcast, right? So I'm hoping that is you're great right now. I couldn't even tell, honestly, that you have a hard time chatting because we're doing it right now and
Yeah.
we did it before the call.
Yes.
But if you are someone who's even more shy and you're like, oh, I just can't, that's okay because guess what lawyers like to do? They love to talk about themselves. They love to, and I'm sure you've noticed it at your job or anywhere with your professors. Like, how many times are we in a class and the professor is just going on about a case they did 30 years ago? And it's just like whole 1 hour class is just about their case that they did 30 years ago, right? Because they love talking about themselves. I don't know what it is about lawyers. We just do it. We just love talking about our cases, our work, the things we've accomplished. So you know what? Like the thing about that is you don't have to do a lot of talking when you network. You just ask them, "Hey, can you tell me about like a really cool case you did? Or can you tell me about a really cool client you have? Like, let's just talk. I want to learn about it." They will talk to you about that client for 20 minutes. I guarantee it. I guarantee it, right? You just sit there and you listen. So have like two or three questions. One question should be very easy is what does your day to day look like? Can you please tell me how your day to day is like? Number two, tell me an interesting, case or client you have had that you really enjoyed in your career, right? And number three can be, okay, what can I do in law school if you're in law school? What classes can I take in law school or what clinics can I do? If you're a practicing attorney, you can ask them, oh, what bar association should I join? What clubs or, associations generally should I be a part of that you think would help me learn more about this industry? Three or four questions, have them prepped, ask everyone the same thing. You can, right? Because you're just trying to learn from them and they understand that. So your aim, yes, is to get a job or to get them into your network, but your other aim is to learn and grow. And if you just come across that way, 90% of the time, the attorney is going to be totally fine having your resume on their deck or sending you a job reference if they see something. But you have to be genuinely excited about it. And the way you get genuinely excited about talking to a lawyer is talking to a lawyer who is doing something you want to do. Right. So don't just go and like go to LinkedIn and see, oh my gosh, this person works at like in America, the biggest firms like Cravath, right? Or Latham or Skadden or something. Oh, this partner works at Skadden and I'm just gonna talk to them.
Mhm.
But you have nothing in common with this person, meaning you don't really care the area of law they practice. You just care that they're at a big law firm. Well,
Yeah.
then in that case, you're not gonna have a good time talking to them. They're probably not gonna have a good time talking to you, and you're not gonna get anything out of it. Like no mentorship, nothing, no words of wisdom, because it's just gonna be very transactional. And lawyers can pick up on that. They can pick up on people when just they want to talk to them just to get a job or just to talk to them because they're like high level up there, right? So be intentional with who you talk to. I think is super important. Be genuine because people can tell when you're not genuine and it will hurt you. The legal community is really small. Everyone knows everyone. You think they don't, but they do. I can't tell you how many times I talk to people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know this person." Or sometimes I'll say, "Oh yeah, like I know that person too." So be intentional and just, ask them about their careers, ask them about themselves, and you don't have to do very much talking, I promise. I promise that to you.
So that would be an in-person conversation. But how does one, what does a perfect LinkedIn message look like?
Gotcha. I don't think there is a perfect LinkedIn message, to be honest. Even I use ChatGPT sometimes, to figure something out. What I like to do on emails or messages is, hi, I'm really interested in your practice group for XYZ reason. So, for example, I'll do, hi, Sukhmani, I don't know if you do this, but like, hi, Sukhmani, I'm interested in your corporate practice, especially your M&A practice. Would love to connect and learn more about it. Do you have time in the next couple of weeks? That's it. Period. There's like three sentences, right? Because one, you told them why you want to talk to them because you're interested in their practice.
Hmm.
You pick a niche area of their practice group too, right? Because corporate is huge.
Huge.
Corporate, general corporate, M&A, there's litigation. Like, what is it about their practice group that you like? Oh, I
Hmm.
like that you're doing M&A or that you're doing, startup law. Can we please chat about that? And that's it. You send the message. I do the same thing on LinkedIn. I do the same thing on email. Email, you can make it a little bit longer if you want, like, oh, I'm really interested in that XYZ. That's it. And the LinkedIn message and the email is like perfect. You don't need to do too much, not too little. It's just the right amount. I will tell you another reason why I liked the firm I liked is because I spoke to like four or five different attorneys at that firm from different offices. So when I went in, I knew so much about the firm. I knew their policies, their clients, the kind of works they do. So yeah, even if you're doing OCI interviews, you need to network. You need to, I think it helps you name drop in the interview too. I spoke to so and so at your firm. I spoke to so and so at your firm. I did this, I went to this event because a lot of these firms will also put on like mixers for law students and sometimes attorneys to come meet people who work at the firm and chat with them and speak to them. Go to those events, online, in person, go to those. Network with people before you apply to the job or before you apply to that OCI interview. Super helpful because one, you get to realize if that's a firm you want to work at, right? Do you even like it? Two, you get to name drop someone in an interview, shows that you actually did more effort than somebody else who didn't do that because there are a lot of people who won't do this, right? There are a
Hmm.
lot of people who won't network before an interview.
Yeah.
I think it's a disservice. I think you should try. Obviously, if you can't find someone, that's different. But if you never tried to, meet someone at that firm before applying, I think you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Because being a lawyer, the other thing is you have to go a little extra, right? Like an extra step. And I believe if you network before doing an interview, you already have shown them that you can do that extra step, that you are someone who can take initiative, take control, and like do something extra that other people aren't doing. So networking is helpful whether you're doing OCI interviews, whether you're doing like networking to find a job through that, right? Whether there's a job opening, do your best to network. I've heard from in-house counsel at bigger companies too that if you network with someone prior to applying, your job application gets put in a different like pile. It just gets
Oh,
looked at differently.
okay.
So networking is hugely important. Even if you're someone who's shy, I think you got to figure out a way to not be shy and do it because that's how you're gonna land like your jobs, you're gonna meet people, your mentors, all that stuff. Because the other thing is you want to know people outside of the company you work for. So later on in life, if you ever want to switch or if you ever want to talk about something, this person is not working at your company, so they don't have like an interest in that sense, right? They don't have to sugarcoat it or be nice about advice. They can tell it to you straight because there's no connection to where you work and your mentor or your sponsor or, the person you're not working with. So that's the first part. And then the second part you mentioned is why the emphasis on networking. And I think it's for that same reason. It's like people want to know who the candidate is too. People want to know, am I going to vibe with you? Am I going to get along with you when we work together? Because we're going to be working long hours. So it's helpful for the company to want to, for you to speak to them. And then also for the, candidate too. It's really helpful because you want to know if this is the firm you can work at. Sometimes, a firm has one perception to the world, but the people you're going to work with, your practice group, have a different. So, maybe the firm, for example, is known to be really conservative. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't apply there because they're super conservative. They don't care about, women or women of color. They don't care about work-life balance,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But then there's people in the firm and the practice group who have a different belief, right? So you want to make sure that the people you're working for, do they believe the same things the firm believes, or is it the opposite? Because I can't tell you how many people end up working at firms thinking it's going to be one thing, but it's another. So It's really helpful to network, really helpful, and I think I'm glad it's getting more emphasis because it's also giving people a face to the application before they apply, right? People get to know you, people get to chat with you get to chat with them, figure out if it's a good place for you, gives you a leg up, show some initiative. So I am a big believer in networking. I think that's a big reason why I got my first job because I just networked so much for the firm I started to work at the first year.
I want to talk about the interview process for you. What kind of questions do they ask?
Yeah, so it's depends on the firm. And I know as lawyers it's like it depends. But it really I hate saying that too, but it really does. So I'll just, let you guys know what I was interviewed, the questions I got. So you get the normal like why the firm? So know why, do some research. Why do you want to go to that firm? Don't just again, don't think it's oh, you're the number one firm in the country. That's why I want to be there. They know that too. They know that they're number one firm. Why do you want to work there? What is it about their practice? What is it about their environment? What is it about their clients that intrigues you, that pushes you to want to work there? Number two, a lot of the times you're going to get asked questions about, tell me a time that you had a problem and the solution you did and the outcome. It's called the STAR method. And so I can't think of like exactly what each thing stands for, but generally what the STAR method is, it's like a solution, a problem, the outcome, and all that stuff encompassed. So if anyone's listening right now, go check it out. Go Google like interview STAR method. And I had prepped like three or four scenarios. So like things, challenges at work that I faced, and then how I created new policies or found a solution, and then this is the outcome of it. Super helpful. You're gonna get a lot of those questions. You're gonna get a lot of questions or some about how do you manage up. And I never knew what that was. I got asked that randomly and I was like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? It took me a second to like figure it out. But what managing up is, and I'm sure Sequini, you've seen it too, right? As a junior person at a law firm, same thing here when I was a junior, still am. You have to manage up, which means you have to manage your manager. Okay, so you have to tell your manager, hey, here's the assignment I did. Can you please look at it? You have to follow up with them.
Yes.
You have to make sure that the assignment gets turned in to the client or gets filed to the court. That's a you job. That's
Yes.
not the partner's job. The partner's job is not to sit here and think, oh, the deadline's on Friday. Did you get it? Did we review it? No, that's on you as a junior associate. So I got a question about have you ever done that in your life? And I had internships and stuff, and so I was kind of used to already doing that. So I spoke on that. But that's
Mm.
a very, interesting question I think that I got asked. But the best thing you can do for legal interviews, go online. I remember when I was doing OCIs, I just went online and looked at like legal interview questions for OCI. There's so much out there now. I mean, not that I was in law school a long time ago, but when I was doing these interviews in 2021, 2020, there was so many articles by like Harvard about all these big, research groups and schools and universities. So do that. Do your research of what kinds of questions you may get asked before you do the interview. Super helpful. I mean, I'll be honest, I spent a lot of time prepping for my OCI interviews. It wasn't just like, oh, I have an interview tomorrow. Great. No, I spent like a couple of days, a week, 2 weeks prepping, looking at different questions, looking at the firms, researching the people, researching their clients. Like, I had a spreadsheet of like, okay, this firm did this firm did this is who I talked to at this firm, this is who I talked to at that firm, this is why I want to be at this firm, right? So you need to have all those questions done and prep. Don't just go into the interview thinking you're smart. I'm sorry, even if you have the top grades and you go to the top school, you still have to have a personality. You still have to show that you want to be at that firm. So put some effort and some time into it. There's so many good resources out there. Like we all know that Harvard's a great school, right? So they have great questions. Like again, can't remember off the top of my head what the article was called, but they had a list of questions that you can get asked during your OCI interviews or during legal interviews.
So you meet somebody, the conversation goes well. Are there any post-meeting etiquettes that people should follow?
Yeah, I think you definitely should send an email saying thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed talking to you. Please let me know if there's anything else I can provide, right? Great. Kind of wraps it up. Then I feel like if you don't hear back in another week or two, like follow up again and say, hey, I just wanted to follow up. Is there anything I can provide? And you should do that once. And then after that, I think you got to let it go. But those are a couple things I would do after an interview. So be kind, be nice. That goes a long way. Even if you don't get the job, even if you don't get what you wanted, that person will at least remember that this individual who was reaching out to me was kind, was generous, was nice, was good to talk to. And that's a win. In my book, that's a win. Because if that is how the person feels when you left talking to them, they're more willing to talk to you again. They're more willing to help you later when they can, right? Maybe not in that moment, but later on they may be able to.
Hmm. I have a funny little question here. Because you know how there's a debate these days, like who pays on the first date?
Oh yeah.
So who pays for this meeting with the other person when you're networking? How
Usually
do you handle the check?
I can track. So I've done a lot of, again, because it was COVID, I did a lot of virtual ones. So there was no paying. There was just only talking and just vibes. It wasn't like a pay thing. But when I have met in person, it's usually the person, the other one, like the other individual. So, because I mean, I'm still a junior, even though, yes, I've graduated in 2022. I'm not like 10, 15 years into my career. And when I talk to someone, obviously I'm talking to someone who's like 5, 6, 7, 8 years into it. So then they tend to pay, right? Like they're the older person, they're the more experienced attorney. Hopefully, they're also making more money than I am. So it's like they tend to pay, but it all depends on the setup. I usually just do coffee, get-togethers if it is a get-together in person. I don't do like lunch or dinners. I don't know. I think that's a long time to get stuck with someone and
Yeah.
vice versa. And also, like attorneys and lawyers don't have a lot of time. And so they're not going to want to do like an hour with you. They do like 15, 20 minutes over coffee. And usually it's like the other person will pay. Oh, this is another thing. So I guess if it's in person, don't get coffee before they show up. Like, don't get something before they show up. I just feel like that's weird. Yeah, I do that even with my friends. Like, don't do that. Wait for them to come and then get coffee together. And sometimes if they pay great, you're usually not going to pay for them. That's something I will say. If I'm reaching out to someone to talk to them, I'm not going to be paying for them. I may pay for my own, they may pay for their own, but I'm not going to be paying for them. So that's the first date networking situation of payment.
So then what's the right time to start networking?
Oh my gosh. Right now, like, and do it as soon as possible. So earlier the better. But even if you start in law school, it's fine. Just do it early in law school. Don't wait till like, oh, it's my first semester ended, so now I should start because OCIs are happening in 2 months. No, the earlier the better. Make networking another class. To be very honest with you, make it like another class. Have a goal in mind of, okay, I'm gonna try to talk to one attorney a week. Totally manageable. Your first year of law school, I know again, as a first year, it's super hard. You're figuring everything out. But if you have time to party, you have time to talk to an attorney for 20 minutes, one attorney a week. So because that's how you're gonna get the job. Even if you have great grades, it doesn't hurt to have a bunch of other people you've networked with, and I don't think it harms you in any way, even if you are the top of your class. It's gonna help you.
Do you have any advice for women in our legal profession who don't want a job that involves going to court and are looking for a better work-life balance?
Yes. Okay. So, when it comes to work-life balance, I've said this on my episode that I did recently too. I don't think work-life balance 100% exists. And I'll be honest about that and I'll tell you why.
Hmm.
Every part of your life is going to demand a different kind of energy, a different kind of attention and time. I'm a single individual, right? I don't have kids, I don't have a husband. So I can devote a lot of my time to my career, which I'm doing. This is why I can work a weekend. This is why I can work late nights, right? I live with my parents, and so I don't have to, I cook my own food and do my own thing, but it's not like there's other things that I don't have to worry about. Even when I lived on my own, when I first started working, I was still living on my own by myself. So I was only responsible for me and myself, nobody else, right? So I was able to devote so much time to working. Same thing now. So much time to working. I can do my podcast, I can work, I can network because I don't have a partner or I don't have like kids. Maybe when I have kids, I'm gonna have to take a step back at work. I don't know. I can't like say that because I'm not in the situation, but I'm just saying that right now is not the season for me to have a family. Right now is not the season for me to go date. Right now, the season is not for me to go get married. It's not, and I've accepted that, and I'm okay with that because I know this season for me is about work.
Yes.
But when it comes time to shift a little bit, then yeah, maybe my work is I'm not going to work weekends as much or late nights as much, and I'll focus on family and finding a partner and being with my partner. But that's the work-life balance I think can exist. I don't think you can have everything at the same exact time, right? Like you can have it all. You truly can. And I think women, we can have it all. We can have a family because I've seen it. We can have a work that we enjoy, but it takes time to build it up, right? It takes time to build up a reputation at work or in the industry that allows you to take weekends off. It takes time to build up your reputation to allow you to say to your, colleagues like 5 to 7 is family time. I'm not going to be available. You can't, I at least, and maybe people are getting mad. I don't think you can do that when you first start working, right? Like you enter the door of a firm or especially being a lawyer and you're like, okay, I don't work 5 to 7. Okay, they'll find someone else who can, right? Because you're telling me you're just starting off in your career, it's your first month, your second month, you're just wrapping up your 1 year and you already have these conditions. It's just going to be really hard to sort of be successful. There are firms, of course, that do less hours, so you can then make those demands, right? Like maybe the billable of requirement at that law firm is like 16, 17. I've even seen 1300.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's fine because then you can have a work-life balance. So I think that's another thing to look at is if you really truly want everything at one time, then your career, you're not going to build the 1900 hours probably, right? You're going to pick a firm that has a lesser billing requirement because even in house, like I'm in house, you still have to work sometimes late. You still have to do deadlines, right? So maybe you have to then pick a career or a law firm. I won't even say career, a law firm, because it's not just the area of practice, it's also the law firm that you're at, more so, more importantly than just the practice of the law, where their billing requirements are less. That's just the reality of the situation because especially your first 2, 3 years, you're just learning. You're just trying to understand what it's like being a lawyer. It's really hard to then demand your job to give you time off, like 5 to 7 or like whatever it may be, what you're looking for. You're going to have to probably put in really long nights your first few years of working. That's my work-life balance comment. Again, that's what I do. So if somebody finds what I'm saying offensive, I apologize. Like I'm not here to offend you. I'm just here to tell you like the reality of being a lawyer, right? You're on call all the time. Especially in big law, you're on call all the time. And even in smaller firms, like if you're in litigation and you're going to court or you're on a deal, right? Because you mentioned not going to court, but you're on a deal. You're on an M&A transaction, you're on a financing, you're going to work weekends probably because they're going to want that deal to close as soon as possible. They want the money to come in, they want the deal to close, they want the transaction to be done as fast as possible. So you're going to be working late nights as well. M&A is a very busy practice because it's like one deal after the other, two deals at the same time, like such a busy, demanding career. Um, just generally, I think being a lawyer is a demanding career, so you need to be prepared for that. Unless, again, you go to a smaller firm, maybe a smaller company where there is a bit more work-life balance. But even then, I think all lawyers are generally a bit more busier than other professionals that work in the corporate sector or even non-profit sector. I think lawyers are just tend to be a bit more busier.
Hmm. So for internationally trained lawyers, that's the term that's used in Canada. I'm not sure what they call us in the US.
Yeah.
But like I don't have Canadian education. So
Mhm.
for somebody like me who has moved to California or anywhere, um, what are some things that we can do to make us more appealing to a potential employer?
Yeah. One, networking. I know we've said it, but I think that is going to make you look good because you're going to know someone at the firm, someone took time to chat with you. Number two, get out into the community, right? Like I wish I need to do more of this too, so I'm saying it and I'm acknowledging I need to do more. Get
Hmm.
out into the community, join the bar associations, right? Like maybe you feel comfortable doing the South Asian one, bar association. Go there, go to their events, go to their meetups, go to their, galas, go to their parties, meet people there. That's going to make you attractive. I know it's not something you can add on your resume, but it's just going to make you attractive generally because you're going to get to meet people in the industry. And that in itself is going to be helpful. Number two is I really feel like do any volunteer pro bono activities. Like this is for people who don't have a job. If you have a job, you're fine. Do good at your job. Build a good skill set, you're fine. And then do the networking as well. But if you're someone who's like, oh, I don't have a job, right? Because I'm an international international lawyer, so I have to take the bar, I have to do all this stuff. Do a lot of clinics and pro bono activities for free. So I did something when I first started because we got credit for it at my law firm, is we helped people fill out, I think it was like some kind of form, like citizenship forms or something.
Mm.
And I can't recall like what the form was exactly, but those forms, right? Because look, if you're an internationally trained lawyer, you understand English, okay? You know how to read, you know how to write. Like, be confident. You know 80% of the things, trust me. You're not any a American or Canadian trained lawyer is not smarter than you. You just have different degrees, and unfortunately, the policies and whatever, you have to come here and redo your education, and I think that's unfortunate, and redo like everything. So you still can do a lot of clinics, pro bono activities. Like I know at the Gurdwara, they'll do like filling out citizenship forms. Do that. You can put that on your resume, maybe not as like a legal experience, but somewhere on your resume you can put like, oh, you did a clinic or you're doing clinics, you're part of an organization that helps people fill out citizenship forms or taxes or whatever it may be. That's really good and helpful because again, you're going to meet people, you're getting some experience, not exactly the work experience, but something. I think those are helpful. And if you're someone who has a job as an international lawyer, right? Like you're articling, you're a law student, or if you're a law clerk or something, that's great. Find something in the industry, in the legal industry where you can get your foot in the door, whether that's a legal assistant, whether that's a paralegal, whether that is, a legal receptionist, something that's legal related. So you have your foot in the door, if that makes sense, right? And that's why I'm saying the clinics are helpful in those like pro bono activities because, yes, filling out a form is not legally necessarily, but it's still understanding the form, it's filling it out, you're showing initiative, it's free, you're getting some experience. So those things I think is super helpful.
Yeah, uh, in Canada, it's becoming a big problem, honestly, because people are coming in, they don't really know when they are being sold this Canadian lawyer dream. People
Yeah,
back home, there are organizations that will help you pass your exams, like they give you classes, but that's it. Like they don't tell you the reality of what's happening here. So here now, no employer wants to hire a lawyer as a legal assistant because they know that that person's end goal is to be a lawyer. So this person's not going to stay here for long,
that makes sense. Okay.
right? But because you moved to a new country and you need a job,
Yeah.
don't get anything even entry level because most of the people have already kind of blacklisted you. And
Yeah.
fine, it's okay. You do your equivalency exams, all good. But then you have to find articles. So then how do you find articles if you have no experience in the legal industry in Canada, right? No employer is going to waste their time, money, resources on you if they see a blank page about Canadian experience, right? So this
Yeah,
is
but
that's happening.
yeah, the one thing I'll say to that is that's where you have to network, right? Like that's where you have to meet people because if you think about it, when you're a law student, and even in the US or Canada, you're also a blank resume because
Exactly.
you have no legal, like, even if you did internships, like, that's it. You don't have full on, like, 3 years being a lawyer in a different country. That's where you have to network, and that's where I'm telling you, like, going to events, getting to know associations, attending association events, and then doing pro bono clinics. I know it's like unfortunate that you also have to obviously make money and like survive, but if you do those things, I think that's extremely helpful to help build something.
Hmm. So how important do you think LinkedIn is when it comes to networking? And I don't mean in the way of reaching out to people, but more on the creation side of things, like putting up a post or reposting, sharing content. Is that something that's very crucial when it comes to eventually landing a job?
I don't know if it's crucial in landing a job because I didn't do that, and not a lot of law students normally do that. I think there are some out there when I was in law school that I would see them posting. I do think it's helpful if you're able to do it. If you have something to say and you're a good writer, then yeah, right. Make a weekly post about something, comment on something, meet people, and become a like LinkedIn an influencer, right? But I don't think it's crucial in getting a job. What's crucial in getting a job is one, getting good grades, two, knowing people, and three, being interested in the field that you are trying to go into. I think all this other fun stuff, like being a content creator, being a LinkedIn influencer, is helpful when you're actually an attorney and you're looking to lateral and go into a different firm, or you're trying to establish yourself as an expert in a field. Then it's super helpful. When you're a law student, you are an expert in nothing. So right? Like unless I know a lot of people did patent work before they became attorneys. So they had science degrees and then started to do patent litigation, or sorry, patent prosecution stuff, patent agents. And so maybe they have an expertise in patents and the science field, and so they can talk about it. But you don't have to put that pressure on yourself to be like, I have to do a LinkedIn post. There's already so much other stuff you can do that's like less intimidating, right? Which is just meeting people, taking the classes, doing well in your classes. Like those should be, I think, the most like the biggest priority you have, right? Before you start to post things on LinkedIn. I don't think that's gonna land you a job more than if you were to network.
Hmm. Throughout this whole networking process, are there some things that people can do that helps them become more memorable or stand out, make a good impression?
Yeah, I think again, genuinely showing interest in the opportunity to get to know them. And the only way you do that is if you're interested in their work, right? Because then it becomes really natural to have that conversation. It becomes really natural to ask follow-up questions. That's what people are going to notice. They're going to notice, like, oh my gosh, this person was super curious. This person was super genuine. This person was super into what I did.
Yeah.
Right? Like at the end of the day, you want the lawyer who you've networked with to feel like you really cared about their job. You really cared about their work. That's going to be memorable. And then the follow-up email, even more important. Hey, thank you for giving me 15, 20 minutes to talk. I really appreciated it. I'd love to reach out again in a few months if, I see something I'm interested in. Do you mind telling me about it? Or can we catch up again in 2 months? I'd love to update you on the next part of my journey. Right? That part. And then the second part too is like if something does happen in your life in 2, 3 months that's really exciting, share it with them. Be like, hi, you mentioned XYZ to me earlier. I actually did it. Thank you so much. Right. So do that. Super helpful. That's how you also get a mentor. I think mentors in the legal field are crucial, 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 crucial. And for me, my mentors were through like clubs that I was a part of. They would have connections with like the South Asian Bar Association or some other firms or whatever it may be. So I have a mentor who I love her. She was also on my podcast recently, that I've had since 2L. So since 2020. And her and I just catch up. I just catch her up. We text each other, hey, how are you doing? I did this, I did that. What do you think? I'm trying to do this. What do you think about it? Great. She doesn't work at the company I work at, but she's a great mentor to have. And it was simply because I just followed up with her, showed interest in her career. She showed interest in mine. She's also a South Asian woman. So I think we just generally connected on that too. Funny enough, she's actually from Canada earlier, and then came to the US. And so, she's just an amazing person. And the same thing with other people. Like I recently talked to someone and we ended up like my name is Sekhon. And then he was like, oh, my mom's last name is Sekhon too. So like before she got married. So
Yeah.
it's just funny, right? And like, he's someone I'm probably gonna follow up with, even though I don't need him to get me a job. It was just like, hey, I really like connecting with you. He does something totally different. He does also like IP prosecution, like IP stuff. I do corporate things. But again, great person to just talk to, right? Like, hey, what's the industry looking like? And how are you? What can I do? I'm a junior in my career, like you're a senior. What can I do to better position myself? So all that is super helpful, but it can only be done if you show interest in their career and just follow up with them once in a while. I think that's good.
Hmm. What are some other soft skills that lawyers or law students should be mindful of just to improve their personality, make themselves appear a bit more wholesome?
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. So one, networking, of course. And I think with networking, it's not just like there's so many soft skills encompassed in that, which is one like you mentioned too, right? Talking to people, chatting with them, having those soft skills, like in your mind. And I know it's tough if you're, especially if you're a shy person, and it's really hard. I get that because I have friends who are shy too. But like maybe having questions in your mind already to go that you want to ask this person will help ease you into the conversation. That's also a soft skill. Being able to talk to someone is a soft skill. Being able to hold a conversation is a soft skill. And the way you can do that if you're not good at it naturally is just having a list of questions in your mind, figuring out what worked in the previous networking that you did and what can work in the future. The other soft skill, super important, I think is underrated, is going to your professors, interacting with your professors, getting to know them. Super important. Again, I know it's like related to networking, but I just feel like that is something not a lot of people talk about. I wish I did more of it. I did do some of it, but I wish I did more than I even what I did to meet my professors, get to know them. And again, as a junior, the more people you can have just generally in your circle is important. You don't have to listen to everything they say because, again, it can be really confusing to have five different people telling you things, but everybody's going to give you something different. Every advisor is going to be there for a different reason. Some are career, some are life, some are industry related. That's important. The other soft skill is being able, I think, I don't know if it's a soft skill or just generally being passionate about your job
Mhm.
to the degree you can be is I don't know if that's a soft skill, but like being passionate, interested in what you do is so important. I know people who unfortunately have jobs that they don't like because they really want to be at that firm or they really want to make, X salary. And so now they're kind of stuck and now they're not happy and they're not enjoying their job. So I think really being passionate or finding some area of the law that you're interested in and then going for that and then being the best at it. Being the best at that will give you the salary, the prestige, the fame that you're looking for, but it's okay if you first start off and you don't have like the big salary. If that's your goal at the end of the day, you can always build that up if you are good at your job, right? And the only way you can get good at your job is if you like it enough to repeat it, get practice in it.
Hmm. And we've like spoken so much about networking 101 basics, how to draft a message, how to approach somebody, how to talk, what to do after you're done with your meeting, following up. So for me, the last question is, what does your normal workday look like?
Oh my gosh, so different. Every day is so different. Only reason it's different is because I'm at a startup and I'm the only attorney, right? And so I get the pleasure, which again, this is why I love my job, to work with different parts of people in the company. So
Hmm.
sometimes maybe it's a business, right? Maybe there's a big contract we're trying to negotiate, a big customer. So I'm working on a deal. I'm working on a contract, a customer contract. Sometimes it may be that product needs my help because they are launching a new product and they need to figure out the verbiage and language for something. Sometimes it's marketing. Maybe they are marketing the new product and they need help. Just, hey, can you review this? Make sure it looks good. Is there anything that we need to report on? Is there anything that we need to have in this sort of marketing pamphlet or the web page, right? So it's that. And sometimes it's like, oh snap, like the new laws of privacy are changing. So I need to update the privacy policy or I need to reach out to outside counsel to ask them to update the privacy policy and follow up. So every day is different simply because I'm at a startup, right? Sometimes for a lot of attorneys, they're in one group doing one thing every day. Like I know some people who do product at a big company, so they just do product work. When I was at a law firm at doing ECVC, it was still different because you have multiple different clients needing different things like a financing one day, maybe safe financing or Series C, different things, right? So it really depends on what lawyer you talk to and also depends on the type of law they do. And that's actually a good thing to do. Figure out like, are you someone that likes to do different things every day? I do. Or are you someone who likes to do the same thing every day? Because some people don't want like to work with so many different people. They want to do one project for 2 months, keep working on it, new project. That's not my day to day. My day to day is very different depending on the needs of the company and depending on the needs of just like what the teams need me to do. So it's a little reactive, and the only thing that's proactive about my job is like, what are the new laws that are evolving? How do our policies need to change? That's something I get to decide, and I get to figure out when I can do that and how I can do it. But a lot of my job is also reacting to what other people need.
Okay. And with that, we come to an end of the video. I
Awesome, thank
had
you.
such a great time talking to you. And I mean, I am so thankful you answered all of my questions.
Of
Some good,
course,
some not that great, I guess.
no, I think it's all helpful and good questions. I enjoyed being here.
And with that, I'm going to be linking your LinkedIn profile in the description below. If anybody has any questions and you want to reach out to Jagdeep, please feel free to do so. And I'll see you guys very soon in another video. Thank you.